So how exactly does one go about overcoming addiction? The most common mistake that we tend to make when trying to quit whatever it is that we're addicted to is that we try to quit cold turkey. We say, alright, I swear from this moment on, I will no longer smoke. I will no longer look at pornography. I will never look for another quick fix. Whatever it is, the large majority of people often find themselves relapsing, giving in, and starting back at square one. Why does it seem so impossible? Well, the answer actually lies in an experiment they conducted in the 70s. So during the 70s, scientists put rats in cages with two sources of water, normal water and water spiked with cocaine. They observed that these rats would eventually get hooked on the cocaine water to the point where they keep drinking it until they overdosed and died. A couple of years later, another group of scientists conducted a study where instead of putting rats into cages by themselves, they put them into a completely different environment. They called it Rat Park. Rat Park had tons of space, there were tons of things that rats loved, grass, toys, and most importantly of all, there were other rats. In Rat Park, they had the same water setup, normal water and water spiked with cocaine. To their surprise, not one rat died from cocaine overdose, and for the most part, the rats ignored the cocaine spiked water. They even went as far as getting rats addicted to cocaine beforehand in secluded cages for over a month and then moving them into Rat Park. In these cases, all of the rats who were addicted to cocaine would stop drinking the cocaine spiked water over time. They overcame their addiction with ease. So what does this mean? Well, this means that addiction is something that occurs when there are no other consistent sources of happiness in your environment. So if you're the type of person who has little friends, stays in his mother's basement all day, with absolutely no goals, with terrible health, well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're gonna have a near impossible time getting over your porn addiction, or your eating disorder, or your alcohol problem, because you're basically in the human version of a lonely rat cage. So if you want to overcome your addiction, you have to somehow find a better environment to live in. You have to find the human version of Rat Park. Otherwise, you're just gonna fail over and over again. So where do you start? Well, there are 3 areas of your life that you need to work on. These 3 areas will provide you with enough happiness to move you out of your lonely cage and into the human version of Rat Park. Number 1 is deep human bonding. A recent study found that 48% of Americans have only one person they can speak to about important matters. I'm sure most of you guys do have some friends. However, if you take a step back and look at these relationships, how many of them can you say are truly deep and meaningful? Do you guys talk about deep, important matters, ways to help each other improve, or do you talk about what happened on the game last night, or about the latest episode of whatever TV show you watch? Most people nowadays have acquaintances, not friends. So how exactly do you get real friends and build real bonds? Well, you have to work on your social skills and learn how to hold deeper conversations. I actually have a video about this and I'll link to it in the description below. Number 2 is to focus less time on social media and instead focus on interacting with people in real life. By following these 2 steps, you'll see a drastic improvement in the amount of deep bonds you have with others. The second area you need to work on is meaningful work. 70% of US employees now report being extremely unhappy with the work they do. You don't see these numbers in places like Google or Tesla. Why is that? Well, it's because the majority of work the typical American has to do is monotonous. It's pushing papers or entering data and taking orders from someone else. There's little to no emotional connection with the work they do. Now, does this mean you have to quit your job in order to quit your addiction? Not necessarily. But what you do need is something that you find meaningful. This could be community service. This could be posting your art or your music online. This could be writing that book you always wanted to write. You need to ask yourself, what are some things that you hold really important, and start doing them. For me, it's creating these videos so I can impact your lives in a positive way. If your work has meaning, then it becomes a consistent source of pleasure in your life. The third and final area you can work on is sculpting. Are we going to be sculpting statues? Well, no. When I say sculpting, I mean the act of working on yourself, sculpting yourself. The reason I chose the word sculpt instead of improve yourself is because, well, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's gonna hurt. It's only afterwards that the happiness settles in. For example, going to the gym. During your workout, you're put under tons of uncomfortable stress, but afterwards you feel like the king of the world. Improving yourself in any way follows a similar pattern. Working on your social skills by approaching random strangers or resisting an urge to eat ice cream on a hot summer day are all forms of sculpting. You're sacrificing your current desires to sculpt a better future. Even the smallest improvement will help. By working on these 3 areas, you can slowly introduce yourself into a better cage. Let's say you worked on yourself for a month. You started going to the gym, you started hanging out with some friends, you started a little project that you're passionate about. You may not be in Rat Park yet, but you're definitely in a much better cage. And what you'll find is that you'll notice that there is naturally less of an urge to indulge in whatever your addiction is. And since you indulge in it less, you'll have an easier time improving on these 3 areas. So you end up working out more, hanging out more, and working on your projects more. Slowly and surely, this positive feedback loop brings you out of addiction. You finally get to the point where you've built yourself a version of your very own Rat Park, and you don't even bother looking at the bottle or looking for porn or looking for the next fix, because why run away from reality when reality is so awesome? Alright, so a lot of you guys have been asking me for help on quitting pornography and completing the NoFap challenge. Due to popular demand, I'm actually coming out with a course early next year. This is going to be different from any other course out there because it's going to be an in-depth course on how to step by step overcome your pornography addiction. And the best part about it is that you will be working one-on-one with me. I will personally be spending time with you, making sure that you overcome your addiction. So for those of you who are interested, who really want to make a change in their lives, I have a link below that will allow you to sign up for my email list, where I will send you a notification the moment the course comes out. This email list will also include a monthly newsletter focused on different ways to improve yourself. Besides that, thank you for watching and stay tuned.